Mounce, BBG, chapter 20, sentence 3. Starts off with, I think, one of your new vocabulary words, ecke, which is there, of course. Then you have this auton. Hopefully you look at this and you go, okay, I see that new. That tells me it's probably accusative, probably going to be masculine, so it's probably going to be a direct object. So you're going to take that and sort of yank it out and put it after the verb because you see that that's the direct object, and then you're going to figure out that verb. Hopefully, after you've read chapter 20 and sort of digested it, one of the not so fun things, obviously, is that one of the ways that the future is formed is by a verb that where there's sort of this radical change in the stem. And this happens to be one of the places where that is the case. And if you take your laminated sheet and you look at the back, I'm going to give you a hint, and this is, again, the very back page of that laminated sheet. You go all the way to the third column, and you go about 5 or 6 words down, and you're going to see horao, which hopefully you recognize as I see. And then if you look at the very next form, which is the future form in that list, you notice that that radically changes to opsami. So it's one of those things that, the downside is you got these radical changes where they mean the same thing, but they look absolutely and completely different. I mean, horao and opsami don't have too much in common. Among other things, opsami is deponent, whereas horao is not. So you've got some difficulty there, and it is something that makes life tough. But the upside is, you have a very limited number of verbs that are common in the New Testament that make those radical changes. And I would tell you, like something like this, where horao and opsami, where it's I see, and then this is I will see, opsami I will see as a deponent. You learn those few things where they have those radical changes, and you covered a lot of ground because they're verbs like I come, I see, verbs that are very, very common. So yes, you have to memorize those stem changes and know the new stem, but once you do, it's such a limited number of verbs where that happens like that once you get it down, you've covered so much ground in terms of the New Testament that I think you'll find it worth it and very rewarding. So in this case, let's go back to this verb and see the theta epsilon, which by now hopefully you recognize theta epsilon or tau epsilon always is second person plural. And again, once you've learned horao turns to opsami in the future, you recognize that that is a future deponent. So that's why you have that s, the ending, as a deponent ending that you are going to translate as an active, but in this case a future active. So it's there you will see him. Okay, so there you will see him, or if you depending on what you want to do with ecke, you could say you will see him there. But I kind of go in English, I would do the same thing. I was like, that's where you'll see him, there is where you'll see him. So I have no problem fronting that like it's fronted in the Greek for sort of an emphasis thing, and translating it as the first word in the sentence is there you will see him. So then you have kathos, and I would encourage you to always go with just as, unless you have some good reason not to. So there you will see him just as, and apen is he said, of course, he, she, it said, in this case he, because we're talking about him. So there you will see him just as he said, and hopefully you recognize that as a dative to you or to y'all. So there if you want to do it my way to make it more particular, I would say something like there y'all will see him just as he said to y'all. That's very clear and very precise.